हाय फ्रेंड्स, वेलकम बैक। तो भाई अभी हम देखेंगे कि वर्ल्ड में अलग अलग जगह पर जो मीडिया है उसने क्या न्यूज़ दी चंद्रयान 3 से रिलेटेड। क्या धूम मच रही है चंद्रयान 3।
मैंने तो देखा था CNN में आई थी, उसके
अच्छा।
बाद न्यूयॉर्क टाइम्स में भी आई थी,
अच्छा।
वॉशिंगटन पोस्ट में
अरे
आई
वाह,
थी, सभी न्यूज़पेपर्स में
सभी कवर कर रहे हैं इसका
आर्टिकल्स आए
मतलब।
थे।
चलो फिर
बिल्कुल।
देखते हैं, मजे लेते हैं। तो वीडियो शुरू करते हैं। वीडियो शुरू करने से पहले अगर आप चैनल पर नए हो और आपने अभी तक सब्सक्राइब नहीं किया तो जल्दी से पहले सब्सक्राइब के बटन और बेल आइकन को क्लिक कर लो ताकि आपको हमारे सारे न्यू वीडियोस के नोटिफिकेशन मिल जाए जैसे हम अपलोड करें।
अगर आपको वीडियो पसंद आता है प्लीज लाइक एंड शेयर। चलिए शुरू करते हैं।
India's space agency has successfully launched a rocket that will seek to land a robotic rover on the moon's south pole.
Start with a historic mission to the moon
BBC.
and the launch of India's Chandrayaan-3 spacecraft.
India's space agency has just
German and
launched a
Russian
rocket that will attempt to land a robotic rover on the moon. The Chandrayaan-3 mission aims to touch down on the moon's largely unexplored south pole.
सबने चंद्रयान कितना अच्छा क्लियर ठीक बोला है। जल्दी जल्दी जीरा भैया, जल जीरा जीरा खाना है। जल्दी
पाकिस्तान।
India's space agency has successfully launched a rocket that will seek to land a robotic rover on the moon's south pole. And it marks a first, not just for India, but also for space exploration.
Robotic rover
took off
कौन सा
about an
rover?
hour
सारे rover
ago
robotic
from
होते
the
हैं।
country's main spaceport in Andhra Pradesh in the south. If all goes to plan, the rover is expected to land on the moon in late August, where it will remain functional for up to 2 weeks, performing a series of experiments. The mission's dubbed Chandrayaan-3. It could make India the fourth country to execute a controlled moon landing. Only 3 other nations have successfully accomplished that feat. That's the United States, Russia, and China.
Hello, I'm Lucy Gray. Welcome to the programme. We start with a historic mission to the moon and the launch of India's Chandrayaan-3 spacecraft. This is the moment that it took off just under an hour ago. It entered Earth's orbit shortly after. It's India's second attempt at a lunar landing, and if it's successful, the craft will deploy a rover near the moon's south pole next month, and India will become only the 4th country behind the US, the former Soviet Union, and China to manage a controlled lunar landing.
India's space agency has just launched a rocket that will attempt to land a robotic rover on the moon. The Chandrayaan-3 mission aims to touch down on the moon's largely unexplored south pole. The rocket launched in the last hour from India's Space Centre on Sriharikota Island on India's east coast.
श्रीहरिकोटा।
उनका मैप
It
बड़ा
will
गया
out travel for almost a month
map was
to
trashed.
the moon. And if it succeeds to land, India will become only the 4th country to put a craft on the moon. Several earlier missions have ended in failure. One objective is to explore the moon's polar regions for ice, which could potentially supply a future space station with water.
And from New Delhi, joining us live, Ishan Garg is
इसने नहीं
here.
बोला
Hi,
था।
Ishan.
BBC और जर्मनी वाले ने
So, it's a
बोला।
huge day for India, and we were so
CNN
excited
का हमें
seeing
पता
the
नहीं कौन
scenes
है।
in the last hour. If this mission's to be successful, we do know there's still a month that it's got to travel, this Chandrayaan-3, before it gets to the moon. What could it mean with success for the country's position as a global space power? Tell us.
It's going to be a huge deal, and we already have some degree of confidence about its trajectory. The Indian Space Research Organization announced shortly after the launch that it has been launched into the orbit around the Earth, after which it will slingshot into the lunar orbit. In about a month, we'll find out if this rover is able to land on the moon or not.
A little earlier, I spoke to astronomer and podcast host Jennifer Millard, who talked us through the launch of the rocket and explained how long it would take before it reaches the moon.
It's there, it'll orbit the moon a few times before attempting to deploy the lander and then the rover, which is contained within the lander. So yeah, we've got a little bit to wait. We're expecting it to get to the moon 23rd, 24th of August. That's the rough timeline. And then, hopefully India will become only the 4th nation to have a successful soft landing on the surface of the moon, which is absolutely incredible if you think about it. It's only the US, Russia and China that have achieved this. And India are going for it. They haven't done too much in terms of space exploration, so this is a really ambitious mission, but that's what they tend to do. They were the first Asian nation to reach Mars as well. They've got an orbiter around the moon now that's been operating for over 3 years very successfully as part of Chandrayaan-3. So expect great things from India and space in the future. So it was actually the Chandrayaan program that discovered water at the south pole of the moon and concretely discovered water on the moon. That was the first time that had ever been done. That was back in 2008. And then, of course, they're really making amazing progress, spending very little money on these projects. When we look at NASA's, the budgets run into hundreds of millions, billions of dollars, whereas the Chandrayaan ones are doing it for $75 million, something like that. We spend more on making movies, and yet India are going to explore.
How are they able to do that so much more cheaply?
Because I'm smart.
So again, it's doing things like taking their time, so using the least amount of fuel possible. That cuts down on the budget. Using smaller craft, so this rover, is not the sort of size of a car that you would expect with the Martian rovers. This one is on its biggest dimension. It's about 1 meter long. And so then that reduces the cost as well. Lower mass as well is always cheaper. And it's very, very specific targets. We only expect this rover to be working for 1 lunar day. That's one of the things with the timing of this mission as well, is to get there for the start of a lunar day. So we've got that full 2 weeks to make the most of all of that solar power to charge the batteries. And so it means that India can do these extraordinary missions and extraordinary science on a very, very low budget, and does show that you don't need to spend all of this money necessarily to do amazing exploration in space.
Now, DW's Sushmita Ramakrishnan joins me now here in this studio for more on this. How much of a moment is this? How big a moment is this for India's space
Very big,
industry?
huge.
I think it's quite really big, because India has been trying to be a forerunner in the space contest for a very long time, and Chandrayaan will put it right in the center of it, because many lunar missions have failed from global space agencies in recent years. So if Chandrayaan's lander actually makes it to the moon, it's a big moment for humankind.
So we will talk a bit more about this with you, but first so we here in the studio, Sushmita Ramakrishnan from DW Science is still with me. Sushmita, so the rocket is supposed to land in 2 weeks?
No.
Longer, 40 days.
Yeah, 40
days. What are the chances of it actually touching down successfully?
100%.
What we're aiming for is a soft landing. It's not just about being there, but doing it gently and gracefully. What happened with Chandrayaan-2 is the predecessor to the current satellite. It crashed just moments before it was supposed to touch down, and it lost signal, and we don't know what happened. But this time, scientists have managed to bulk up the system. It's about, the current Chandrayaan is about 300 kilograms heavier than the previous systems, and this 300 kilograms has gone into building safeguards, extra fuel, more shock absorption capacity, better sensors. This is how they've built it.
So tell us more about this rover. It's called Vikram. What's special about it?
So it's named after the Indian space research father Vikram Sarabhai. So ISRO was kind of his brainchild, and most of the rocket science in India comes from Vikram. And little Vikram, the rover, would send out the rover into the moon's surface. But the lander, Vikram itself, will have like 4 different testing capabilities. It's going to check for moon quakes. It's going to check the temperature of the soil. It's going to look out for water, and it's also going to leave out a reflector, which we can passively test later by sending out pulses from Earth and getting it reflected. We know the moon's movement better with this reflector.
मजा आया, कैसे धूम मच गई है इंडिया की हर जगह पे, जैसे मतलब 30 मिनट्स के अंदर जब हुआ है, उसके बाद 30 मिनट्स के अंदर ये सब चैनलों में उसकी बातचीत शुरू हो गई है. और बीबीसी का देखा था कैसे वो बोल रहे थे कि भाई, क्या बोले थे कि
बीबीसी को यही था थोड़ा कि भाई थोड़ा जलने की उनकी लग रहा था, थोड़ी प्रॉब्लम हो रही है उनको. जैसे बाबा बोल रहे थे कि बड़े ह्यूज ड्रीम्स हैं उनके, बड़ा उन्होंने बहुत सारी चीज़ें मतलब बहुत ही बड़ा टारगेट ले लिया इन चीज़ों को बनाने के लिए। बीच में उन्होंने ये बोला था कि भैया ये इतना सस्ता कैसे बनता है, तो छोटा कर दिया इससे सस्ता बन गया। छोटा कर दिया इससे सस्ता नहीं बनता। आप किसी की चीज़ को छोटा कर दे तो इमीडिएटली सस्ता नहीं बन जाएगा, उसके लिए बहुत एनर्जी लगती है, बहुत ब्रेन लगता है, और आपको देखना पड़ता है सोफिस्टिकेशन कि आपको कैसा ऑर्बिट लेना है, कैसे पहुंचा, बहुत कुछ इन्वॉल्व होता है। सिर्फ मिनिचराइज करने से ही सस्ता नहीं बनता, उसके पीछे बहुत एसेंशियल चीजें हैं, वो उसी पे फोकस किया हुआ है।
एग्जैक्टली। और अगर छोटा करके हमने किया है तो वो भी बहुत इंटेलिजेंट काम किया। बड़ा लेके क्या आपको मिल रहा था, बस पैसे ही खर्च कर रहे थे ना।
और जब हमारा बजट बढ़ेगा तब क्या होगा,
सोचो
अब कहाँ से कहाँ पहुंच जाएंगे। तो मेरे ख्याल से ये बहुत ही क्रिटिकल है। इंडिया हैज़ टू डू दिस, और ये डेफिनेटली सक्सेसफुल होना चाहिए, फिर धमाका हो जाएगा और इंडिया जो है बहुत आगे चले जाएगा। उसी वक्त से लोग बोलेंगे
फर्स्ट होगा साउथ पोल में, हम लोग जो है फर्स्ट,
साउथ पोल में फर्स्ट होगा,
और
पानी मिल गया तो उसमें फर्स्ट
होंगे
इवेंचुअली। जो है देखिए इसमें ग्रेटनेस है कि सभी लोग जो हैं, डॉयचे वेले वाले, CNN मुझे पता नहीं, वो थोड़े बैलेंस लग रहे थे, और उसके बाद जितने भी BBC तो है ही, और उसका जितने भी हैं उनको अंदर से सभी को है कि ये सक्सेसफुल ना हो।
अंदर से उनको है, बोल नहीं पा रहे हैं पर उनको यही है।
कोई इवेंचुअली
किसी ने नहीं कहा कि सक्सेस हो जाएगा, अगर हो जाए, अगर हो गया, बस
सब के सब। अगर मान लीजिए मैं आपको बताता हूँ, अगर ये नहीं होता तो ये लोग सबसे पहले जो है सबके सब बड़े खुश होंगे, मगर इंडिया जो है डेफिनेटली लैंड करेगा, और इन सब के मुंह पे एक पुचकी पड़ेगी कि भैया हमारा लैंड हो गया। अगली बार से बोलना मत, वरना एक और पुचकियां तुम्हारे मुंह में मारेंगे।
पुचकियां पड़ेंगी। तो आप लोग सोच लो, आप लोगों ने किस किस को पुचकी मारनी है। मैं मारूंगी एक को, आप मारना है एक को, सबको पुचकी पुचकी पुचकी, एक एक को, जिसको हमसे जेलसी हो रही है। हाँ,
सबको हो रही थी जेलसी।
हो तो सबको रही थी, अंदर से सबका था। तो कमेंट सेक्शन में लिखना आपको किसको पुचकी मारना है।
सबको पुचकी मारेंगे,
सबको मारेंगे एक एक करके। आप एक कंट्री ढूंढो, हम दूसरी ढूंढेंगे, पुचकियां मारेंगे। तो चलो चलते हैं, मिलेंगे नेक्स्ट वीडियो में बहुत ही जल्द। टिल देन टेक केयर एंड बाय बाय।
तो अगर आप मेरे इस चैनल पे नए हो तो जल्दी से सब्सक्राइब के बटन को हिट करो और बेल आइकन को क्लिक करो, ताकि आपको मेरा जब नया वीडियो मैं लगाऊं आपको उसके बारे में जल्दी से पता चल जाए।